the late person has to
All right,
the
so
Pledge of
Dr.
Allegiance.
Wilson,
I was
just
really
watch the
excited
screen
because,
when it comes up.
all my friends are all over the country now, and stoppages from like
And then,
everywhere.
and, oh, I need to do this though.
Awesome. Maybe something
It's
will
on.
finally change. And it's so sad that it's up to the kids.
We are live.
All right.
I would,
Can we have everybody's attention, please?
thank you for your big voice. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock, March 27th, 2018. This is the reorganizational meeting for the Hsdsb School Board. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'd like Melissa to call the roll, please.
Yes. Kathleen Abrazizi.
Here.
Jason Cipriano.
Here?
Caitlin Parnell. Here. James Sweeney.
Here.
Karen Yasenka.
Here.
Sophie Chericello.
Here.
And also seated at the board table is Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Roxanne Wilson.
Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know who I am, again, I'm sitting here as in place of the chair until we do our reorganizational vote. So before that, Dr. Dancy, could you lead us in the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's been a little while since we've met, and I just want to extend a thank you to all the community members who came out during the snowstorm and voted. We certainly appreciate all of that hard work in trying to get to the vote, and appreciate, all of the support from all of you. So what we're going to do is we're going to entertain motions for the chair, if so done. Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Karen Yasenka for chair.
Second. Second. Do we have any other nominations, and then we can discuss? Okay. Any discussion for Karen Yasenka? No discussion. Okay. Then let's call the vote. For Karen? Very good. Unanimous. So I am going to give Karen the chair, and she is going to continue. That was easy. That was quick, huh? Thank you. Thank you. We have those comments. MS-22.
Thank you, everyone. I'm very pleased and glad to serve as your chair for the upcoming year. The next order of business is the chair will call for nominations from the floor for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Jason Cipriano for vice chair.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, all in favor of Jason Cipriano for vice chair? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, everyone. Next order of business is appointments for the 2018-19 school year. First is school council. The chair motions to recommend to allow the superintendent or his designee to seek legal counsel when necessary and with the firm most appropriate.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on this?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor of allowing the superintendent or his designee to seek legal counsel when necessary and with the firm most appropriate, raise your hand. Thank you. It's unanimous. Next, the school board clerk. the chair will, it's weird how this is worded. The chair will accept nominations and the recommendation of Melissa Post. Is there a second?
I'll second Melissa Post for the position of school board clerk.
Is there any discussion? No, other than to say thank you, Melissa. We're
My
happy that
pleasure.
you're here, and you do an excellent job for us.
Thank you.
All in favor? Unanimous vote. Thank you. Representatives and delegates, these are both volunteer positions. Is there anyone who would like to serve as the New Hampshire School Board Association delegate?
I'm happy to continue serving.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Nope. All right. All those in favor of having Jason Cipriano serve as the New Hampshire School Board Association delegate? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Another volunteer position is Hsdsb representative. Anyone like to volunteer for this?
I'll volunteer. I had a conversation with somebody prior to the meeting, so I'm willing to volunteer.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
And we appreciate this. For people who don't know, Hsdsb has their meetings at a very inconvenient time.
And monthly.
They're monthly, inconvenient time, right around kids coming home and starting dinner. It's a dinner time type thing. So we appreciate you volunteering to do that. Thank you. Assistant Treasurer, we have a recommendation to appoint Deb Highfield. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Truant Officer. We also have a recommendation to appoint Officer Scott Randall.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous vote. Thank you very much. We also have a responsibility, the bonding of the school district officer. The chair will motion to bond the treasurer and the assistant treasurer as required by statute and Department of Revenue Administration regulations. Is there a second to
I'll
that
second.
motion? All in favor? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. We also have a responsibility to designate a bank depository. The chair moves to recommend that we appoint TD Bank as the district bank.
I'll second.
All in favor? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Annual policies. First one is our investment policy, DFA, which is required to be reviewed annually per state statute and the auditor. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at this?
I have a question. On the very last page, under number 3, internal controls, it says the district treasurer and superintendent or his or her designee shall establish a system of internal controls which shall be documented in writing. The internal controls shall be reviewed by the school board and an independent auditor. Is that supposed to be like an annual thing to review that by the school board? Or have the school board review that?
Per RSA, it says the board will conduct an annual review of this investment policy. So it's RSA 197:23-A.
Right, and I'm thinking that means DFA. But when it came down to the internal controls, and it looks like it's a something else that's documented in writing, not a policy. And it's supposed to be reviewed by the school board. So I just didn't know.
Well, let me just refer that question to Dr. Wilson.
We can, I don't have those internal controls in writing right now, but we can get those to you.
All right.
So we have a system in place, it's just not in writing?
We have a system in place. I'm not sure it's in writing, but we're going to figure that out.
Is that satisfactory?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You want to answer? If anyone would know, Jeff would know.
Also, Mr. Dowd, so I don't have to read this, could you maybe just give a little brief thing about what this code DFA is, the investment?
Mr. Dowd, can you just make sure your mic is on? I don't know if anybody checked it.
Green.
Okay.
And there's a note here that I can't touch it. Good evening, members of the board. Jeff Dowd, I'm District CFO and Business Administrator, and we do have internal controls documented. They just aren't here tonight. I think that's what you were alluding to. I think it could have been taken two ways, though. And with respect to policy, I'm sorry, DFA? Oh, with the investment policy itself. So, as a general proposition, this policy is in place. We don't typically hold enough in funds to have investments in the first place. I've reviewed the policy and am comfortable with its language. And certainly with respect to any documents the board would like to review, I'm more than happy to provide the same.
Okay, now that's it. I was just thinking more for the people at home. Just quickly, the three objectives for this code is: one, safety of principal is the foremost objective in this policy. The second is liquidity of the investment portfolio shall remain sufficient to meet all operating requirements that may be reasonably anticipated. And then three is the yield. The investment portfolio shall be designed with the objective of obtaining a market rate of return throughout budgetary and economic cycles, taking into account the investment risk constraints and liquidity needs. Return on investment is of secondary importance compared to the safety and liquidity objectives described above.
The very last sentence, I think, that you read, I consider to be the most important of the entire policy, that the return on investment is of secondary importance to the safety and liquidity of objectives of the district. So the important factors here are that any funds that are invested are able to be made liquid, and that those investments are in safe investments, even if the yield isn't as high as we would like. And that's a reasonable policy. That's a reasonable policy in light of should you desire to earn interest on money or have investment income. That's a very safe policy to have in light of make
Great.
those investments. So.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the second policy is in the last page of your policy packet.
I see that, and we'll discuss that when we discuss policy.
If you had any questions, he's here. Just wanted you to know if there was any questions that you may have had of him.
I don't think so.
No, we're good with that one.
Huh?
Wait, yeah, I'm okay with that one.
Okay. Moving right along, scheduling of regular meetings and dates. We usually meet on the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month at 7 o'clock. And as you know, we usually meet here at Hampstead Town Hall. Prior to voting on this, there's some thoughts that have come up that I'd like to throw out for discussion and see how you may feel about this. Historically, years ago, school board met in one of the schools. We met in Hampstead Central School. We met up in the library. It switched over to Town Hall when Town Hall was able to provide cable capability so people could watch it at home. We now have that cable capability in the middle school. The only other requirement that our policy says we have to take into account is wherever we meet, it must be handicapped accessible. So both schools are handicapped accessible. So I'd like to put out there for discussion, where that might go. I think that it makes sense that the school board meet in a school building for a number of reasons. The materials that you might need, the people who are there have easier access to paperwork or documents or whatever. The other thing, I think it's important that when people come, they come into a school. They feel that they're in the school, they see the school, we're in a building. I just feel that that's very important. I don't know how everybody else feels. I know that we could meet in the middle school without having to do anything. The cable is there. We would have to probably not do anything. We would have to make arrangements for who was going to cablevise us. I don't know, might involve hiring a person, are asking for volunteers on the school side. Meeting at the central school would require bringing cable in, and we would have to look into the cost for that. I did that briefly and understand that there might be some room in the budget to handle that. So that's what I'd like to throw out before we just read this and accept it, because this says that we will continue to meet here in Town Hall. I don't know what the benefit is of meeting here, frankly. Comments, thoughts?
Madam Chair? It's a small town. I don't, honestly, I think I'm okay with if we want to move to one of the schools. I don't think it's inconveniencing anybody because we're basically adjacent to one of the schools and the other one is not far at all. So it's not, from my perspective, it's not that big of a deal. And then to move because it's not, it's not a longer drive or anything like that. And then obviously there's technology, as you mentioned, and we routinely do have at least a portion of our meetings over at the middle school during budget season. So it's not like there's no precedent for that. We do have some of those meetings over there. So I have no problem with that.
So we just need to know what the costs were if we were going to have them at the central school. Would we need to have employees that staff that to set up the chairs, take down the chairs also? So that's a cost, right?
Yes. Yes, that's a cost.
Right, okay, no, I'm just,
Somebody's doing it here.
Yeah, whenever there's meetings that are required, the custodians take care of that.
I
It's
don't-
part of their being there.
I don't think it would be an extra cost because they're already
No.
there.
No.
The only thing that, and we could deal with this on a case-by-case basis, the only thing that having the meeting here frees us up only when there's like an event at one of the schools, right? And we don't want to, and there's, as we know, especially at the middle school, parking can become scarce if there's a large event and something like that. But I think if we were going to move over there, we can deal with that on a case-by-case basis if there was some event that was going on and we could figure it out. So I'm just pointing that out, that's one of the few things that I could imagine might come up. So.
If you would give us time to research this a little bit too, for the technology aspect of it, I'd have to have Dr. Dancy look at what our capabilities are, both at the middle school library, if you're thinking about that. It might be a little more intimate
I like the
than...
library.
Yeah. Central school, I don't know what it would take, but it's going to cost us something to get it set up over there for cable. So I would like him to be able to kind of research that and maybe report out at the next meeting.
So one of the things we had talked about, Dr. Wilson, previously was streaming it as opposed to broadcasting it. And it serves the same purpose. People in the general public can still see what we're doing and see it in real time or near real time. So there's not a reduction in access to the meeting. So I'm not suggesting you solve that tonight. I'm just saying, when you have that discussion, just kind of keep that in mind because it's something that we've discussed. So that may be an option if we do it at the central school. Obviously, we know at the middle school there's equipment already there. So.
Yeah, and I think if this is doable and everyone agrees to it, this is something that we probably would not put into place until next year in September. So we'll give you time to check things out and check the cost. To me, it just makes sense that we're a school, we should be meeting in a school. We have two right here in town. It doesn't make sense that we're meeting in Town Hall. Any other comments?
We may want to consider it for August because remember we got double booked with the concert here
That's true.
a couple of years?
We were serenaded.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
During the
that
meeting.
wasn't easy to hear.
that was true.
But I think we can go ahead with the assumption that we're going to be meeting the same days.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean,
Yeah.
for the purposes of what we're trying
Yeah.
to do tonight, with your permission, I'll just make the motion that we at least set these meeting dates, and then if we want to adjust the location, that's fine, but we'll set the dates.
Right, the second and fourth Tuesdays at 7 o'clock.
Right.
We just won't include the location for tonight.
So I'll make the motion that the board accept the school board meeting dates as presented in our packet with the location to be determined.
Second.
What's that?
Any
Three-way
further
tie.
discussion?
Pick one.
Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Signing of our ethics statement, policy BCA. Are they in our
Yep, there
Yeah.
you
Yep.
packets? Huh?
Behind this stuff.
I don't have mine.
It was right behind the
It's
calendar.
underneath the calendar.
Does anybody need one? I have an extra.
Yeah,
Nope,
there you go.
it's hiding under my calendar,
I
thank
think
you.
we're good.
Anybody have any issues or problems signing this ethics code? Thank you. Let's do it now and return it so it's done.
And Madam Chair,
Thank
I
you.
would also like to recognize, because I know we discussed this at an SAU meeting, and maybe not everybody that's watching tonight watches the SAU meetings post. But I do want to recognize you as the chair, Karen, have done a lot of looking into what other districts use in terms of their ethics policies and what's out there for schools and towns as well. So you're very familiar with what the standards are, both in the state of New Hampshire as well as across the country. So.
Thank you, yes, and I think the one that we have serves us well. It covers everything that we need to do. It's recommended by the New Hampshire School Board Association, and I think it's a good way to measure our conduct and how we treat each other professionally when we meet as a board. Thank you.
I'll move to adjourn the reorganizational meeting.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you, we're adjourned. We are adjourned at 7, well, depending on what clock you want to use.
23.
7:25, how's that?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
$7:26, I'm going to open up the regular meeting of the Hsdsb School Board, March 27th, 2018, and ask Melissa to please call the roll.
Yes. Kathleen Aberzizi,
Still here.
Jason Cipriano,
I'm here.
Caitlin Parnell,
Here.
James Sweeney,
Here.
Karen Yusenka,
Here.
Sophie Chericello,
Here.
Dr. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes, you'll see before you two sets, a regular meeting and a non-public from February 13th. I know that seems like ages ago. Please take a look at them if you haven't already. If there are no corrections, I will accept a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approving the regular meetings and the non-public meeting from February 13th, please raise your hand.
Thank you.
It's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. Do you have any public comments?
I did not receive any public comments, any requests.
All right. Thank you very much. We are on to administrative reports. Mr. Collins?
I know you have a lot to talk this evening, so I'll just skip right through all the printed stuff for you and just add a couple of little things that are important to go there. A couple fun things that are happening at Central School this spring that we've started to do throughout our years. As I shared at the last meeting, we've started doing these morning announcements. The kids love them. In fact, this month we've had Mrs. Denola doing it, and a little one was walking through the hallway one day and said, "Mr. Collins, you're not doing the announcements anymore." And I said, "It's Miss Poole." He says, "Oh, that's who it is." So anyway, the kids are really paying attention and looking forward to it. We also started off with our all-school meeting, which was run by students. And they were preparing right until it started. So they spent their time working on grit and a lot of our school rules. So our next one is going to be just before April vacation. The kids are working on some stuff to talk about Earth Day and recycling, and we've got a few other fun things planned that week for the students. As far as the Kids Vote 2018, I did share that we were going to do this vote for the kids, and of course, the kids had a lot of fun with it. We did it on that Monday just before the town voted, so the kids got a chance to vote. The first graders voted to go with Pajama and Stuff Day. It will be happening on the 29th, which is a couple days from today. So the kids will be coming to school with pajamas and stuffed animals. Our second graders also voted for that, so we're doing their day on Friday of this week. Next Monday, the fourth graders doing, because that's what they voted for. Now, the third graders, they like to do things different, I guess. They actually voted to have recess with the principals. So we'll be doing that on Thursday afternoon of this week. So we're going to go out and hang around with them for about a half an hour and see what happens. So pray for the good weather. It's been a winter like that. Central School also planning, of course, the very important things to look ahead. Red Sox opening day, Bruins Day, and Celtics Day when they go off into the playoffs. So there's some fun stuff ahead there. I would like to show you something that we're very proud of. We have a parent sitting in the room that said you can show it off as a proud principal. Our students, they went off and they won the regional competition for Destination Imagination. They did the challenge called the Unlikely Attraction Challenge. What's significant about this is Hempstead's always had these great OM and then DI teams. This was the first time that any of these kids did it, and first time I think any of these parents had much exposure to it. So our fourth grade team did actually very well. They placed, which is always a great thing to do, but then our third grade team did exceptionally well because I guess you were sitting there to the end saying, oh man, I don't think we made it, and they announced Hempstead. So what this means is our kids are going to be performing at the state event in Bedford, in it's a couple Saturdays out, on the 9th, I think it is. So if anybody, the 7th? So I'll be over there, and I'm sure a few others will be over there in Bedford to see our kids. I just want to warn you as a board, if they win, or if they place, I think, second, then first or second, they will be going to the national event, which would be a trip to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We'll talk about that if and when we get there, but hey, I'm the optimist. I think they have a good shot at it. Another fun thing that's been going on is our PTSA Reflections. Went very well this year. We had a lot of great arts pieces. One of the really interesting ones is a little lady by the name of Kendall LaBelle. She's a second grader. She submitted a few videos and actually won a couple of awards, and she's actually got one going to be placed at that national level, this competition as well. So we're very proud. If you want to see a full list of all the kids, they're on our website. A lot of our kids did very well. I know I saw some members in this room at that event, so our kids, we're really proud of them. The kindergarten and preschool is rolling out. I will share you a little data point because I always have to do that. Kindergarten enrollments this spring are not as big as they were a year ago. But that's not bad, because you might remember we were projected to have a very large kindergarten. I hope that's an early indicator that our kindergarten will be about the same as it is this year, because I had shared if we really get that big number, we would be kind of stuffing them into kindergarten rooms in a way we didn't want to. We were going to have our meeting last week, but that forecast kind of messed everything up, so we are going to be mailing out the packets to the parents so they can get their registration, and we're still going to run an evening meeting. But kindergarten parents, please don't worry. None of the forms are expected until later in April. I know that's, some people have some questions there. But thank you very much. I would like to point out about the enrollment. Parents are still calling me at Central School. You might have noticed the numbers suggest that we have reached that 478. I already have one ready to start in the next week or so. So they're still showing up. So there's a lot of kids there.
So, a question. Kindergarten, how many half-days are we offering?
The way it's structured right now, we have one teacher that has a morning and an afternoon, so that's 2 half-day groups, and then the other 3 rooms are full day. And what I have been telling the parents, that if the enrollment did grow to a bigger number than we have this year, we would need to have 2 rooms have 2 half-days each, so that would be 4 groups of half-day and 2 groups of full-day. I just simply don't have another classroom to do that.
So, okay, if I'm hearing you right, then, so there's 2 half-day options
Yes,
with the same teacher?
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Denola.
Good evening, everyone. Very nice to see you. We have had a lot of things going on at the Hampstead Middle School, but I wanted to just follow up on what Mr. Collins had said with regards to Destination Imagination. And I'm in contact with the fourth grade parents that have taken the lead in Destination Imagination to talk about bringing it forward into the middle school. So I have a meeting planned, I believe, for next week to talk about it. So I'll keep you informed about moving forward in that realm. Many of you were there for the musical, The Addams Family. I know everyone enjoyed it. Dr. Metzler was there for the whole 2.5 hours, and it was an outstanding production. I have to say thank you to Mr. Kevin Fisher and to our new music director, Ms. Kelsey Sullivan. Mrs. McMahon, one of our parents, who was the artistic director, along with Mrs. Downey. And we had Mr. Robbins doing the lighting and sound. We had so many kids working behind the scenes that were working so very hard, doing pretty intense set changes and lighting changes and sound. We were very happy. The Addams Family was just a blast. The kids had a great time. So on to the next musical. We're not ready to announce it yet, but we're getting there. So on Friday the 23rd, we had our fifth grade students present their Egyptian Museum, which is an annual event. The kids created some life-size tombs, and examples of kingly riches, architectural designs, domestic habitats. As you went through, every child was very well prepared and was well versed in public speaking. They looked you in the eye, they told you, they understood the portion that they were explaining, and it was from 9 to 10. We invited all the parents and Grammy and Grampies and uncles and siblings to come in and share. This year we did it in the classrooms, which I really thought was quite nice. It was nice for the parents to see the kids in the classrooms that they are all day and share in what it is to be a fifth grader during their day at Hampstead Middle School. So that was a success. Our spring sports are up and running. In spite of the snow, we're still out there, and we're in the parking lot, and softball and baseball and track. We're doing the best we can until the snow melts, but this week should probably give us a nice break from some cold weather. Our STEAM family night, many of you there, we did a really nice job with Mrs. Wisecover, Mrs. Mayu, and so many of our parents and community members sharing their skills in the field. Moving on, again, New Hampshire PTSA Reflections. Our kids at the middle school also did very well. A number of students were presented their work in so many different mediums: music composition, video, the visual arts, and we can't thank the PTSA enough for bringing this forward and also extending it to all of our teachers at Hampstead, not just the art teacher. That was presented throughout the curriculum. So we're very glad about that. And I have to say, we have 3 students from Hampstead that have gained national recognition this year, which is outstanding. We had Ethan Charles was just notified by the National Geographic Society that he is one of the semifinalists in the New Hampshire National Geographic B. He will be, the contest will be at Keene State College on April 6th. If he wins, he will go to Washington, D.C. to go to that next level. We just received word this week that our own 8th grader, Alex Barbuto, received 4th place in the nation for the VFW Patriots Pen National Award for his writing. So we had Ethan in social studies, we had Alex in writing, and Alex will be he will be celebrated at our Hawk Awards on April 13th at 2 o'clock. If any of you can come, we'd love for you to be there. Some representatives will be there to make the presentation, along with our own Isabel Povey, who won the National Award for volunteerism. So I'm very, very proud of them, and I can't say enough for them putting themselves out there risk-taking, going to the national realm. So that's 3 Hampstead students this year. So go Hawks. So I think that's
Good, thank you.
a glossing of what's been going on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sophie, do you have anything to report?
Yes. So with all of the snow days, term 3 has been extended from its original date, which was this Friday, to Tuesday, April 3rd, so that all the teachers can fit in their tests and grade them so that the term 3 report cards can come out. Because of the snow days, seniors will also be having a senior Saturday, so they can't move the date of graduation, and we used up all of our blocked in snow day makeups. So for that, they'll have seniors come in from 8 to 12 on a Saturday to make up that school time. There won't be a schedule where you'll go to all their class. Instead, they'll have them all go to I think it's the CAF, and they'll have a breakfast for them, caps and gowns. They'll go over graduation things. Also, because of the snow day, our walkout day was canceled. Pinkerton decided they were going to participate in National Walkout Day. So they were going to dismiss all of the students, and for 17 minutes, they were going to call each of the victims' names for 1 minute. Students who didn't want to participate didn't have to. They could go to a different classroom. They're not going to reschedule that. Instead, they had a safety forum during lunches, so students could go to the safety forum and talk with Dr. Powers, the acting headmaster. And he was answering questions on safety, policies, what we do in different situations. A lot of kids had questions about, well, what would happen if somebody entered while we were all in the cafeteria? Where would we all go? So they answered questions like that. Also, last week was Science Week at Pinkerton. So Science Week, they bring in different presenters to all of the different lecture halls and some in classrooms. Every science teacher has the capability to sign up their science class for any day, however many they want, to watch this presenter. They're all in different fields. We had some medical field, people from Raytheon. Some person brought in all these different reptiles and all these like lizards and things for everybody to see. Also last week was Junior SAT Day. Pinkerton holds an SAT Day for students. They use this as their testing instead of the kneecaps now. And it's free for students, so students can take the SAT. They don't have to pay the $50 or whatever to take the SAT.
Does anyone have any questions of Sophie about life at Pinkerton?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. There's one thing here that I would just like to make note of. Karen Gallagher in our special ed. I'd just like to point out that Santina Thibodeau, the Administrator, Bureau of Special Education, State Director of Special Education, sent a letter to Karen Gallagher, our Director of Special Education. Dear Mrs. Gallagher, the New Hampshire Department of Education, Bureau of Special Education determined on January 29, 2018, that the Hampstead School District had a 100% compliance level relative to 34 CFR 300.301. That's the initial evaluations for the April 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2017 report period. And it wasn't the first time. The previous 3 years of compliance for Hampstead School District were also 100%. The Bureau appreciates the district's efforts to achieve compliance with this indicator and will continue to work with the district to ensure ongoing compliance. So I just wanted to do a shout out to our special ed department. No other reports. I'm going to invite Mr. Gary up to the podium so we can discuss the transportation RFP.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Hampstead School Board. I'm going to report back after reporting back in February, after the bid opening for the general education student transportation bids. We bid it 2 different ways. Okay, so we had option A, which was a Hampstead-only bid. We received only 1 bid on that one. That was First Student, who our current provider is. Option B was between 2 companies, First Student and Student Transportation of America. What I'm coming here tonight for is to receive a recommendation from the Hsd School Board to retain services with First Student, who's our current provider, for the next 3 years, with an option for 2 extension years. In your packets, you should have a summary of a contractor comparison. While it looks like a budget sheet, we use the same metrics with both companies to calculate who was the lower bid, and First Student was the lower bid. So very close. We had it within $10,000 between the 2 companies.
So if I'm looking at this correctly, Mr. Geary, the total 3-year cost for First Student, $1,912,184.
Correct, that's what we're estimating as. Yep.
Okay. And if I might, Madam Chair, and maybe, Mr. Dow, how does this compare to what we have budgeted? Not down to the dollar necessarily, but is this consistent with what we have budgeted?
It's consistent with what we had budgeted, so we have budget coverage for this particular contract.
Okay.
So will probably be favorable a little bit at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
So we've been adequately budgeted for what we anticipated.
Thank you.
2 questions. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
At the last meeting, we did ask you to reach out and see if was there any other interest? Did anyone have any
That's
interest?
correct. So not only did we reach out to the vendors that showed original interest in Hampstead, we also reached out to one vendor who was not an original one, and we received no positive response to bid on the Hampstead-only bid.
And there were none?
There were none.
Okay. And so in order to get the discount that I see here, the multi-district discount, means that we will go in with Timberlane.
That's correct. Timberlane last Thursday voted to go with First Student, so the pricing for option B would apply to Hampstead. You would receive the discount. Shows over 3 years. We've estimated a savings of approximately $230,000. And if we chose to go with the full 5 years, including the extensions, possibility of saving nearly $400,000 over 5 years.
I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Financially, obviously, this is the most cost-effective way to go, but I'm just going to throw the question out there. Are there any other benefits?
We see a big operational benefit with in the SAU dealing with one company rather than 2 for the 2 separate districts. I can say it would make our lives easier dealing with one vendor.
So even though it would cost us more, Hampstead would not gain any benefits by having their own.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think I
Contract.
misunderstood your question. No, I don't see any benefit
Okay.
to Hampstead going on their own contract, because it would be the same branch manager, same staff in the office, same general manager for the region, so.
Okay.
Karen? One thing, I think it might have even been today, I forwarded it out to the members, because I know there was some interest. So First Student will be at the National School Board Conference next week, and they're going to be demoing the app, the bus tracking app. So provided that we make that decision for First Student, then I would intend to attend their product demonstration and take a look firsthand at the tracking app that would be used by parents. So.
And just a reminder to the board, that very app is included in the pricing. That was
As well as
listed in
9
our
new
RFP.
buses.
I'm sorry?
As well as 9 new buses.
That's correct. All buses will be brand new at the start of the contract. Yes, Hampstead is not purchasing the buses. The First Student will be responsible for that cost.
We're not buying the 29 new buses.
No.
Good.
Yes.
So I'll make the motion that Hampstead accept the bid offered by First Student and enter into the 3-year agreement with the option for 2 additional follow-on years with First Student.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on this?
Could we have the amount in that motion, just so we're clear
Sure.
what that is?
The total 3-year amount, $1,912,184.90 Total 5-year amount, $3,284,480.25. This is listed as...
If I may, I would like to say that that amount is calculated based on daily rates and what we actually used. So when we formulate the contract, we'll be listing the daily rates. So I don't think it'll be a total cost that we'll be putting into the contract. Just wanted to make that known.
So to clarify, what they need to do is just to accept the contract as
As
bid.
written.
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
What's referred to in our packets as Schedule B.
And leave off these numbers then. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? It's unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Perry.
Thank you.
Next, Mrs. Denola. You're going to talk to us about a 7th grade field trip proposal and a supplemental donation.
Yes, hello. I'm here with Mrs. Rubin, who is our family consumer science teacher, and she's given of her time this evening after a long day of working. I appreciate that. And our proposal is we're asking permission for our 7th graders to participate in a customized interactive field trip that will incorporate physical activities and challenges that will promote positive interpersonal relationships through the Take Flight program in Kittery, Maine on May 18th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. As you know, for many, many years, we had Project Respect for our 7th graders. And that ran its course, and during the past couple of years, staff members have been looking for appropriate opportunities for our students to explore other options with regards to social and emotional learning skills. We're focusing on listening actively, cooperating, resisting inappropriate social pressures, negotiating conflicts constructively, and seeking out and offering help when needed. I know that a major focus in our nation is about the social and emotional learning of students and supporting all of their needs, academic and socially. So Mrs. Rubin spent quite some time studying this and speaking to the people at the state conference.
Yep, the Physical Education State Conference. I spent time talking with the people from Take Flight, and back in my college days, I was worked on a ropes course, part of the Brown Center at UNH. So when I had this opportunity to talk with this woman, Sarah, from Take Flight, I was like, this might be a really neat program to bring to our students. The way the day will be structured will be, we'll be taking the 100 kids there. They can have 50 on the aerial ropes course, which is multi-tiered, so it's a challenge by choice. So the students can engage, they can go as high as they want or as low as they want. They can choose not to do anything and cheer from below. It's totally a challenge by choice option for them. They pick their route, they work with one another, and they manipulate through the challenge course. While we have a group doing that, there'll be a group down on the low implements working with their staff, working on team building challenges, where they will have to solve a problem, work together in their groups, and obviously communicate, trust, be respectful, all those really important skills will be utilized. This just totally ties in with a lot of curricular areas. It ties in with the physical education standards 4 and 5 from Hsdsb standards, which talk about a physically literate student is responsible personally and so depict this personal and social behavior, positive, and they can recognize that their need for self-expression and social interaction. It goes along with the FCS standards where where we have to talk about interpersonal skills, and it also goes along with the 7th grade curriculum where they talk about listening and speaking. And they've been incorporating that in their writing and reading, and so it just felt like a really nice mix, especially with them going into 8th grade, going on the big eight, eighth grade's a big year for them. They're gearing up, getting ready to go to Pinkerton. So hopefully this would help them gain positive feelings about themselves and what they can accomplish so that they can go into 8th grade, which then go into Pinkerton. So just a nice little stepping stone. The 7th graders used to also go to Camp Lincoln and have a day there where they were on the ropes course for a small piece of that day and other activities, and that's also something that hasn't happened in several years. So
thank you.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Yes, if there's any
Winded.
questions. But another part of our request is also to accept $1,525.86 from the Hampstead Educational Foundation, who has graciously offered us a grant in this amount to subsidize a portion of this trip. Do you have any questions for Mrs. Rubin with regards to this?
We have a lot, I think I don't know, I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
Okay, I'll try and answer them.
Okay, number one, take flight, this is something new for us, right?
Yes.
No one has ever, no class has gone before.
Nobody from Hampstead has gone. They have had school groups there, yes, but not from our district, no.
Right. And it's quite different than Project Respect.
It's different than Project Respect, but a lot of the same things that the kids will take out of it will be similar.
Okay, I guess I was caught off guard, frankly, when I saw this in the packet. I hadn't heard about it until we read it in our packets today. And I'm concerned about a number of things. I Googled it, and I took a look at it and their graphics and what they were trying to accomplish, that and also the cost involved for a 2-hour.
Well, it's just going to be a full day.
Well, it's a 2-hour on the ropes and then a 2-hour discussion.
They don't need more than 2 hours on the ropes. They'll be exhausted. So
Sure they will.
Yeah.
But my point is, it's not an all-day event.
It is an all-day event, because when the kids they're on the ropes for 2 hours, yes, but when they're not on the ropes for the 2 hours, they will be engaged in cooperative type activities, and then the groups will flip-flop. So I'm going to have half of the groups will be doing the cooperative stuff first, and then half the group will be up on the ropes course, and then they're going to have lunch, and then they're going to flip-flop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Look, I talked to someone at Take Flight today also, and because I wanted to find out a little bit about it, because I hadn't heard anything about it before. I guess they've been in business since 2000 and, what did you say, 6?
6, yes.
2006. And I asked him who his clientele is, and he said most of them he does 60 to 70 a year, and about 50% of those are rec departments that go up. I said, do you do schools? And he said, yes. And I said, can you tell me what areas? And right off the bat, he said they had one from Winthrop, Mass. Coming up with a 5th grade that had 60 children, and that Hampstead had booked them a slot for 109 children.
We're not booked. We're not booked.
Well, we have a date.
You have a
reserved.
reserved date,
Reserved,
don't you?
Yeah.
Nothing has gone forward at this time.
Okay, and the thing is, according to policy, you don't actually need board approval for something that's within 300 miles of the school, as long as you have approval from either the principal or the superintendent or the board, one of those three. And I'm assuming that, Mrs. Denola, you are recommending this, so you're approving it.
I am, but I always want to bring it forward to something new, something different. We're going out of state. I wanted to absolutely be upfront and share this with the board before signing off for it, and it's just, we reserved a date, but before I had your full support, I wanted to explain it first.
Also, you're just asking the board to accept
The
the
donation.
donation. You're not asking the board to make a donation.
No,
Oh,
no,
we,
no, we're just asking for that.
I mean, I really like the social emotional component to it, but well, I guess I'm just concerned about the liability.
They're fully insured. They do a full safety training of all the students prior to anyone getting on the ropes. We have their insurance binder and their liability cause for the parents and the students to review before we even go.
You know, I looked at a waiver. Every parent's going to have
Yes.
to sign a waiver that takes the liability off of Take Flight, off this corporation.
Just like when you go skiing and you get a ski lift, it's the same thing, but there's still, if something happens, there's avenues.
I don't know, I read a lot of these things. As a parent, I'd have a hard time signing off on this.
I just have a question. I know you mentioned if the students can choose what level they want to do, and if they choose not to do it, that's okay, they can stay.
Yep.
I guess my only concern that comes up with this is, obviously, we all know this is a sensitive age, and it's hard to put yourself out there sometimes amongst your peers. So if there are students who don't choose to participate, they're kind of on the ground cheering them on for 2 hours. I don't know if there's any, that's just, that would be
I think that would
something.
be on a case-to-case basis.
Right.
And what I would do is either bring them back and they can do the lower ropes course again, or we would work on encouraging them to get on and try something that would, I've seen this, I've worked at ropes courses, so I've seen this I've had kids like that. And they do pull through for one another, and when they are nervous like that and they actually do something, they are so proud of themselves, and that is that's a lasting feeling that will go with them forever.
Oh,
it's like when our kids climb the cargo net or they climb the rope in the gym. It's that same thing, but on a bigger scale.
No, I certainly see the benefit of that. I was just, there are kids who, this
Yeah,
is not
no, I
going to be
know.
their thing. And, but it sounds like there is stuff in place that gives them an opportunity to still, not just
Right.
kind of be sitting out while
No, they
their
won't.
group
They-
is doing ropes and then they go on and do the rest. Okay.
Jason?
Along those same lines, what about students with physical disabilities? So is there an adaptive course? Or,
I believe that they have an adaptive portion, and I am going to work with the special ed department. We've kind of already sort of been talking about how we're going to accommodate for them. Maybe some of them just come for one, like the half day. And I do have to talk with the special ed, and we're going to gear a program. I've already talked with Sarah I've been talking with Sarah. You, I think, talked with Charles, maybe?
The owner.
But I've been working with Sarah, and we've been going back and forth. We actually also have a pre-evaluation sheet that we're going to do with the students so that we can see exactly where they are at emotionally and how they feel about it, their experience with the ropes course. Do they understand what challenge by choice actually means? So we're trying to hit all those avenues so that these kids are really prepared to go on this trip and get the most out of it. And we plan to have a post-trip evaluation as well to see what they've gained.
The only thing I know for sure is that the structure is sound.
Yeah.
Because Charlie worked for Windspeed
Yeah.
up in Francistown, New Hampshire.
Which is also affiliated with Project Adventure too. So they have a duo. I think they work with both Project Adventure and Windspeed.
Yeah, and also with the technology course business that's been around,
Yeah.
certified by OSHA. So, but beyond that, I don't know. I think it's concerning. I think that parents are going to sign off on a waiver. So they're not, if something happens, Take Flight is basically off the hook. They're not going to have a waiver with this school district, though. If something happens, this school board is going to be held liable or responsible for them. And I understand we have Primex, and we probably have a very good shield of protection for us. But I still think that I don't think, it says right here, there are inherent dangers and risks that include but are not limited to risk of injury from activities and equipment utilized, including the potential for permanent disability and death, possible equipment failure or malfunction of equipment, participant negligence and/or the negligence of others, included but not limited to operator error, and employee guide decision-making, including misjudging participant fitness and ability to participate. Who's gonna decide all that stuff? The kid is physically fit to do all this. I mean, if you're going as a family or a small group and you know your kids and you know you can kind of vouch for them, you know what they're capable of. I don't know who's this person, this guide, that's going to be making a decision if these kids are able to endure this or go through it.
You know, you raise a good point. I mean, we have a ski club that goes skiing, you know, in the wintertime, and that's an inherent risk of the same kind of physical dangers.
I think their waivers probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
I think they have to. I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but I don't know. I mean, in the end, you have to choose.
Allison, if we were going to the Brown Center at UNH, would we have to sign a waiver?
Yes, they have a waiver too.
It's pretty typical.
Yes, I took, in my previous job, I took fourth graders to a climbing school in Dover. We had the parents had to sign a waiver for that too. Any of these things that require ropes and belay systems, they make you sign your life away. I mean, anything you do like that. Because there is, I mean, but these things are tested and retested. They test them the kids go through school. They're I think they have the double clipping system where they are locked in. They cannot move until both clips are in.
And someone has to be at least 5'1" in order to reach the 7-foot clip.
Yeah.
And they're in groups of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So if you have to make sure, well, I guess.
And there are ways, like if they, I know there are escape routes too. So if a kid gets, stuck, they have ways of getting down.
And they said if there isn't someone, you can rent a buddy for the day for $20.
She didn't tell me about that, but I know that they're going to have people throughout the course.
They're trained counselors that are going to be leading us in the
Our
activities.
kids are not going to be on there all by themselves, like 50 kids on there all by themselves without any adults up there as
May
well.
I ask you, you said you've done this before.
I haven't done it at Take
Correct,
Flight.
but you
I've done it
have
at
done
Monkey
rope-
Trunks, which is a more recreational course. This is more of a learning center course.
Have you ever witnessed anyone getting hurt?
No, I haven't, and I've been at the Brown Center too, so. The thing with the Brown Center is it's a little, and I haven't been there in years, but there's a lot of waiting around. The kids are all gonna be involved, and that's what I liked about this course. There's not gonna be a lot of long lines waiting to go up to do one element. The kids are gonna be able to really be moving.
How are they going to decide who's going to be in those groups of 2 or 3?
I'm going to work with the 7th grade team to figure that out, but we were talking about mixing up the homerooms and not doing it just homeroom based. We were talking about doing, what's the word I'm looking for, inter-homeroom groupings, like so that the kids are with peers that they're comfortable with.
You have it scheduled for May 18th, and there was some disclaimer about weather in the waiver. Is there a rain date for it, or is it May?
We do not have a rain date
So
for
it's
it.
rain or shine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to pray for rain. I mean, pray for sunshine.
Yeah.
My concerns are general. As a parent or something, I know the kids go rock climbing. They do these things. you know, I think that, like I said before, if you're doing this with your family and you know your kids' capabilities, I think that's one thing. But I think sitting here as chair of a school board, looking at the whole picture for the district, I have some concerns if this is probably the best way to spend $3,500 and the best place to take our kids. And that's
No,
all
and we
I'm saying.
appreciate, we really, the reason why we came here is to get your input, and truly we appreciate, you're speaking on behalf of the community. And, in education, we are always looking for that next opportunity to expand our kids' challenges and risk-taking, but if this is not a good feel, we can back away from it and look for something else, for sure.
Can I hear what Sophie thinks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What happened to Project Respect? Do they not do it anymore? I went to Project Respect twice, and I still think about it. It was that amazing. I don't know why they don't go to that. I mean, I met Victoria Arland, who was
Because
just
no
on
one's
Dancing with the
organizing it.
Stars,
Yeah,
and we
she's
did
great.
yoga, and it was just like, I remember going home and just telling my mom all these things that we learned.
Did your folks go with you?
My mom went the first year, and then
Good, okay.
I went twice. I don't know why.
We had the person who was started it in charge of it for 20-something years retired, and we felt like many of the topics that were presented had kind of timed itself out, and we needed to change it up and do something new for our kids. Many of the elements, that emotional social piece that you remember, are still very important to our students. So we're just looking at a different way of getting kids to talk and to have that opportunity to do what you would experience, but in a different format. So that's why we're looking for it. If you have some input, email me.
No, if this is kind of has the similar lessons, I mean, I really did.
You remember
I loved
that.
them. That whole day was just amazing.
Did you hang from the trees?
Camp Lincoln, we did do a ropes course. I
did?
did go to Camp Lincoln. We did do ropes.
Okay.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I liked the ropes course. I loved Camp Lincoln also, but the ropes were still fun. I don't think that we definitely didn't have a problem with anybody who didn't want to go up. It was kind of like a friendly competition more, where it was like,
Yeah, it's not.
it was more
high
fun. We were trying
intense.
to get each other up.
Thank you, Sophie.
Anyone else have anything to say? Jim?
Nope. I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation of $1525.86 by the Hampstead Educational Foundation.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. And duly noted concerns. So the parent communication piece will be very important.
So you've had a second.
Well,
Well,
if we accept the
If
donation,
you're accepting the donation, you're accepting the,
well, that's my question, is if we accept the donation.
That's all
and-
we're asked to
and-
do.
And the administration decides to change the trip from whatever feedback they get, do we still get to accept the donation, or do we have to come back here again?
If,
This is about the donation.
Just the
yeah, the
donation?
donation is only for this
It's not for a
purpose.
seventh grade
No,
trip?
I had written a grant for the
HEF.
HEF grant.
Okay.
and
It's
they
only for this
accepted it,
purpose.
So it's only for this?
Correct.
I mean, I think ultimately it comes down to every parent making the decision for their child. I mean, in conjunction with having a conversation with their student. I don't ride roller coasters, so, that's where I'm at, but, yeah.
Okay, so we're voting right now to accept the donation.
so there's
For
been a
the-
motion to accept the donation of,
1,525.86.
to be used for the Take Flight program, seventh grade
Seventh grade.
field trip.
Correct.
And there's been a second? Okay, all in favor? Four. 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is an easy one, school calendar. One of the things we did not catch on the initial school calendar was in the bottom of the box where it says March 28th professional development. We have now changed that to the March 20th. We had the wrong date. So I wanted you to see that we had made the correction on the school calendar, if you could accept it again.
Make a motion to accept the revised school calendar.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would just renew my request when we next year do this for the 1920 year to maybe put that PD on a Friday. That's just, I'm renewing that request, that's all.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the calendar as presented?
Thank you.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next in line, every year there's a retirement celebration for Hampstead retirees. It includes anyone who's retiring, so HEA, HAS, Hsdsb, those are our 3 unions, and we would recognize anyone from our district who's retiring. In the past, we have asked if the board would consider a $500 donation to help defray some of the cost. The cost this year, I don't know the exact number because they are moving the venue. They are moving it to Brookstone, right on Route 111. It won't be at the Atkinson Country Club. But typically, the $500 pays for some of the refreshments. The cost is usually, I think, $2,000, somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000. So I bring that to your attention, and if there's any other questions, I might be able to answer.
And this is in addition to, we also pay for the gifts, right?
Yes, there are.
That comes out of our miscellaneous budget also,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Okay. I spent some time with Mr. Dowd today looking at how much money is left in our miscellaneous budget, and everything in there has been used or is spoken for, i.e. we still have $1,500 we have to pay out to the boys, the male and female scholarships.
Okay.
So we are actually probably a little bit over that already. So in order to, to grant this request, money's going to have to be switched around and borrowed from one line item to another. And I personally would rather not have to do that. I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but. And also, just a little history. This is also something new in the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years. Right. In the past, the school board did not help underwrite the event. We simply gave the gifts. Maybe this came about in a year when we had extra money in our account. I don't know, but this year we do not. So I would have to say that this is not something we're going to be able to do comfortably.
That's fine. That's why I bring it, this is the time for me to bring it to you.
I'm still prepared to make the motion, and I will make the motion that we allocate $500 for the retirement celebration.
I'm going to second that. Pending, well, can we say if we can find somewhere to take it from? I'm assuming we
we're
can
in
find
discussion.
some.
Okay.
I think there's, I consider it a relatively nominal sum
Right.
For our retire. I do appreciate what the chair is saying, and I don't want to minimize it. I consider it a relatively nominal sum for people that typically have 2 and even 3 decades of service to the district. And I recognize that it is a relatively recent occurrence that we've made this donation, but I'm comfortable making the donation.
I'd just like to say for my personal thing, this is not about whether we appreciate or do not appreciate our retirees. I think we all appreciate our retirees and the service that they've given to this district over the years. For me, this is simply a financial matter. I spoke with the business administrator. He said, our miscellaneous line item is done. There is no money in there. What's left is already spoken for. It's going to the scholarship fund for the boy and girl who got the $750 each. That is my reason for not being in favor of this. But let's be clear, this does not have to do with appreciation. This has to do with cost.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I definitely appreciate our teachers and, you know, all of our retirees as well with their decades of service. But yeah, it's been an expensive year. We got the National School Board Association conference coming up. The mailers increased in price, and it's been an expensive year. But we did increase the amount of donation that we make for the scholarship, which is still, in my opinion, a negligible amount of money. It would be nice to do more, but.
And we actually increased the whole line item. The year before, we had $4,500 in our miscellaneous account. We increased that by $3,000 to $7,500, and we have spent that. So if there's no further discussion, we ready to take a vote? Motion on the table is to award or give $500 towards the HEA retirement celebration, to contribute $500 from the school board's miscellaneous account. And there was a second? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? 3-2 vote. Thank you, everyone.
2-3. 2-3.
2-3. What did I say?
3-2.
Same thing. Different.
Oh,
No.
no, it's
no.
not.
Dr. Metzler?
Would you be willing to return back to item B? I just have another piece of information that I didn't want to offer without asking first.
Return back to where?
When you accept the donation for the 7th grade trip? If that's okay?
Is the board okay with going back to that on the agenda?
Yep.
Fine.
I just wanted to check with them in the hall. Thank you for, so your concerns were heard loud and clear. And so I had asked, were there a couple additional things that you could do to help parents and the community feel more comfortable with this new activity? And so they talked about a parent night, having parents in to talk more in great detail about what the experience would look like. And also, if parents wanted to attend, they could also come and make those decisions for themselves about what they actually saw, whether or not that was something. So I think Mrs. Noel is going to work out those details, but I think that will help. I think with a brand new activity to Hampstead, and to see if it's something that Hampstead can support for years to come, and yet and parents don't have to kind of flip a coin or hope they can get a real first-hand experience both at a parent night and if they need to go to the event themselves. So I think those are two added layers that may help parents and the community feel more comfortable. So they're willing to do that. So I think that is just an additional part of the information that they didn't provide. So that's all.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that would be helpful. And part of the concern here is that also this is the first time the board's hearing about it. It's the first time for us.
I didn't have a lot of information.
So now this time, it would be good for parents. And I think that's helpful because ultimately the parents will make the decision. So the more information they have, the more comfortable they may feel. And so I think that's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, and I may, we may go, and if any of you may want to go, it's
Karen, do you want to go?
I'll keep my feet on the ground at all times.
Come
I
back with
promise,
pictures.
Karen, I promise, I'll catch you.
I'm well grounded.
Get lots of pictures.
Jim wants to go.
So I
But
think
something, but seriously though, in that vein, something that parents may want to do, to actually see, go up before May 18th and see what goes on with other kids if
that's certainly good advice.
If
too.
Take Flight would let someone be there to observe.
Yeah, I think there are multiple ways to feel comfortable as a parent with what you are willing to let your children experience, and this is something new, and so I think I think we need to do that. So that was great, and they're willing and able, so that's good. So people can count on that happening as well. So thank you.
I think that's good. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, too, as far as not hearing about it before, we've been on, like, school board vacation, kind of, meeting vacation, anyhow. February 13th was the last time we met, right?
Yes.
And then before that, it was deliberative and budgeting. So I'm guessing that's why we hadn't heard about it until tonight.
I don't know why, I just know we haven't, so. That's all I can tell you.
This was fairly new, which is why I wanted to make sure it got here
Okay,
tonight.
got it.
Okay. Big packet of policies. First and second readings, we have 13 policies up for review, including policy JH and JICK, which were sent back to the policy committee at the last school board meeting. And we're also going to take up policy EI from earlier in the evening.
Yes.
All right. So first read, let's go through, can take a look at those. They're easier to get through. First read is AD, Philosophy of the School District, last revised in 2010. Next one is BDG, School Attorney, last revised 2011. BDH, Consultants, revised in 2011. CK, Hiring of Professional Consultants, 2011. CLA, Treatment of Outside Reports, 2012. CM, School District Annual Reports, last revised 2012. EEA, Student Transportation Services, last revised 2013. BBBC, Board Member or District Officer Resignation, 2011. KCD, Public Gifts and Donations, last revised 2008. Number 12, LDA, Student Teaching and Research Internships, 2007. These are all for first read. You'll have 2 weeks before you're asked to actually adopt them. And for second read and for adoption tonight, we have JH, which is Student Attendance, Absenteeism, and Truancy, and JICK, which is Pupil Safety, Violence Prevention, and Anti-Bullying Policy. You want to do these all together, or you want to do first and second?
Okay, all together.
Do them all together? I was just wondering if anybody had any more comments on JH or JICK.
Yeah, because those ones are really long policies. I think one's 5 pages and one's 7 pages.
Yeah.
So,
We've gone over them at the board table before.
And the
They've
policy.
been at policy.
Yep.
That's why I'm comfortable. I feel like we've
I
have
think
talked.
we've done all this. I
fair
I
amount
just wanted to give
on those.
everyone on the board a chance in case they did have other comments or concerns. If not, the chair will accept a motion to approve policies for first read, which were already mentioned, and then also to adopt policy JH and JICK.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
One piece of discussion.
sorry.
And it's just a note for our policy committee people. Let me just, now I can't find the, let me just find the, where is it? It's 10. What I'm looking at is policy, the 10th one, BBBC. I just want to point something out here. This is board member or district officer resignation. So, so this came up, I don't even know, what was it, two years ago? 2 years ago this came up.
Right.
And the thing that we discussed at the time when it came up is that, and the procedure that we followed, I'm totally comfortable with, that we followed at the time, but it's not documented. Basically, the RSA gives the board kind of the discretion to do what it wants, to kind of pick whoever it wants. Now, we decided on a path that was, in my opinion, that was fair and was transparent. We accepted letters of interest. We announced who the candidates were publicly. We gave the people who wanted to be appointed to fill the open spot the opportunity to appear in public before the board, and then the board voted on it. But none of that is actually described in here. We just decided, like, hey, that's probably a reasonable way to do it, that's transparent, that's fair, and so forth. And I remember us talking at the time and saying, hey, we probably should kind of describe that, and that way it's clear to anybody that if a resignation does happen, if a vacancy does occur, that it's clear what is going to happen as a result of that, as opposed to that particular board just decides, here's what we're going to do.
Would that be in this policy, or would it have to be a new policy?
You could
I think
add it to this
I
policy.
think, yeah, and it's only on first read, so it's going to the policy. So my suggestion is that we develop that piece, that component of it. So,
This is,
yeah, I think so. I think it's probably best served as a companion procedure to go with this. That's the only point I wanted to make is we had this happen. We recognized at the time, like, hey, we don't have a procedure for this. My recommendation is, as this goes forward now on first read, that maybe we should come up with that so that if it happens in the future, we've got it.
It may be a
the
nuance.
policy.
Right, let me look to see if we already have a policy about that, and if we don't, then the procedure, we can run.
I don't remember us having a procedure,
Okay.
so.
Well, it may be a nuance, but I don't really think it belongs in procedure, and maybe I'm just fixating on the wrong thing. Just because it's a board policy, it's for board members to do. The procedure is the superintendent's for superintendents to carry out, so it seems like it should
I think I'm
be
comfortable
in the
either
policy.
way, just as long as there's something,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That-
No,
that-
I
that's
think
my
it
only
needs to be
suggestion.
documented as well.
So.
That way the board doesn't have to scramble.
Yeah, and this, what is, I don't have it in front, what's the statutory reference? Is any of
The
that
statutory
explained
reference
already?
is like 2 sentences that just says the board should determine who the
Should do
replacement is.
something. Okay.
It does not prescribe the method by which you, or any process that you are supposed to follow. It just basically says the board figures out who the replacement is.
Okay, Dr. Wilson, can we have this on the agenda for the next policy committee meeting then?
Yes, we can. And before we leave this, just simple, you said letter of intent?
So if you look at what we
come to
did
the
last
meeting?
time, that's what we did. So we announced it publicly. We announced
Okay.
there's a vacancy on the board. We left open a window of 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was for people to write in and write a letter of interest.
Yep.
We invited everyone that submitted, I think there was 5 or 6 people that submitted letters of interest. We invited them to appear publicly before the board to introduce themselves and say, you know, why they wanted to join the board. And then the board discussed it and voted on who the individual was going to be in this case. Mrs. Parnell was the, oh, no, Kathleen,
Was
sorry.
Kathleen.
Sorry, I've been on the board for,
Yeah, 'cause Suzanne was on the board.
yeah, sorry.
Okay,
I
I've got
finished
that.
But-
out that term.
You've circled
My
around.
1 year.
That's right.
Last year, I just
Sorry.
finished out that
2
term.
people occupied that one
Yes.
Yeah.
slot, technically. So anyway, that's all.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a motion and we have a second. We've taken care of your issue, I think, Jason, by
Yep.
sending it back to policy. Okay, so can we vote on this, please? All in favor? That's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Board comments, correspondence. Anybody?
Congratulations to the Destination Imagination team and to Caitlin and Karen on your reelection. And yeah, that's about it.
There's a lot, there's a lot. I think.
A lot has gone on.
A lot has gone on,
It's been a
yeah.
month and a half since the
Yeah.
last time we met.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I attended the art display that Hampstead had, along with other schools, at Pinkerton Academy. And that was a nice evening, and kudos to Mr. Torelli for doing a fine job, and also for making sure that our students are represented at that event. Excuse me?
Kim Mahoney was there from the middle school with Michael
Oh, okay.
doing the whole thing.
Downey?
She was there.
Okay. Thank you. And board comments? Let's have a comment. I would like to thank everyone who worked so hard on trying to pass the construction project this year. My fellow board members, administrators, our superintendents, our teachers who did a video. It was really quite a group effort this year. We had a great construction team. It's unfortunate that the bond did not pass, but we really don't have time right now to dwell on that. We'll get back to that at a later date. Right now, this board has a lot of business to do, to meet the challenges that we're going to face in the next school year because the bond did not pass. We're going to have to work on space constraints and programming, and number one, probably we all agree, is safety. It will be a priority, and we're going to get to work on that right away. But anyway, I didn't want the evening to go by without a proper thank you to everyone who gave up their time so generously. So thank you, everyone.
Well, that includes you too, Karen, so thank you.
Oh. Okay. No one else?
I'll make a comment as well. I think you said a lot on, and I think a lot of us are pretty disappointed with how Article 2 turned out, and I am confident, though, that the members of this board will continue to do what they think is in the best interests of our children and our staff, and continue to fight the fight that we think needs to be waged in order to get the best facility that we can possibly, and maintain the educational excellence that we've come to expect here in Hampstead. So, and I too appreciate the tremendous amount of time and effort that were put into that this year, as in previous years, by so many people, including Karen. So, thank you for the work, and I know we'll have plenty of more opportunities to discuss where we go from here. So,
Exactly. Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, thank you. There is no personnel report. There will be personnel report for the next meeting, just for you to know. That's our nomination meeting where we come with a list of all the staff who are going to be nominated for hire. So that will be done at the next meeting. As far as my report, I just want to, again, thank you all for being here, for a supportive board, and Mrs. Hsdsb, congratulations on being chair again. I think it makes a world of a difference to have people consistently sitting in these chairs to help move the agenda. And it says a lot that people had, enough, I think, faith and trust in having you join us again. So, Caitlin, welcome back too.
Thank you.
And we've got a lot of work to do as normal, but we'll continue to do it in a very collaborative way. It has been kind of a busy month, but it's also been a little disjointed because of all of our snow days. And that, I will say that the use of the online learning blizzard bag days have been, I think, very beneficial in terms of keeping the work in front of the kids and allowing us to do the 5 days that are allowed by the State Department. We still have, I think, 4 days that we're making up. We will have the official day. We'll get it notified. We'll put that out on the website. And I think right now I'm waiting for Kathy Belcher, who is the official person to take care of all of our calendars. But I think we're looking at the 20th right now, which is making up 4 days. The facilities use form, which was KF, remember we worked on policy KF, the procedure. I know that Tom Gary and Melissa worked pretty hard on coming up with a new form, a new facilities use form that has more pertinent information that we need, and so we're rolling that out. Wanted you to know about that. I have been attending some legislative updates, which, as you know, it's been a very active legislative system that we've had a lot of bills going through, and they're going to have major impact on curriculum, our budgets, our revenue, our practices, and just keeping, I guess, on record what it is that we really need to change. So some are being passed, some are going into study committees, some are ought to pass, but we're keeping an eye on all of those. And some are as controlling as mandating what we do for curriculum. For example, the kindergarten curriculum must be all play. That's another legislative, I guess, mandate that will come down. And some of the other examples really do include changing of our practices. So I wanted you to be aware that, we're all watching it. And anytime you have a conversation with your legislator, that's a good thing, because it does make a difference. Watch for the SB 193, the voucher bill. I believe it's still in the House,
Still-
Senate,
Yep,
the Finance Committee.
yep.
Something just happened with that today, but
I didn't see anything today.
I think
I'll
it got
check.
delayed further out.
All right.
Like it's been under complete
I mean, it's been
revision.
heavy, right, it was heavily amended in finance.
From what I understand, it's still awful, but, yeah.
Well, and, we're all watching it, so however it ends up, we're going to have to go through rulemaking for all of these, and that's where, the detail is the devil's in the detail, so to speak. Pinkerton Academy, I did talk with Dr. Powers, and I know that some of you were interested in having a conversation with him about emergency operations. He's willing to come here and talk to the board. I think it needs to be in non-public, because we're going to be sharing some information that we don't perhaps want the whole public to know about our emergency preparedness at Pinkerton, but he's more than willing to come. And so we just need to figure out when we're going to do that, and I'll ask him to come. Their Director of Finance and Operations has left. She accepted a new position at the head of schools. So Dr. Powers is doing quite a bit over there in terms of doing some of the operations, splitting some of the finance piece, taking over as the headmaster. So there's a lot of reorganization going on over there, and I think you're all aware of that.
I didn't know that she left. She was really great.
Yes,
Too
she
bad.
was. And we're just, very busy in terms of just making sure that we get through the next couple of months to the end of the school year. So that's my consent agenda. And don't forget, you have your MS-22. That is the document that needs to be signed if it hasn't gone around. And your manifests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
We'll do them.
thank you.
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ruth.
Thank you.
I didn't defer or ask if you had anything.
Well, I think the only other piece is Pinkerton's moving to a 2-hour delay starting next year on snow days. So it's, we're working that out now with the details. They've always had 90 minutes, we've had 2 hours. So bus company has assured us that that will not be an issue for us. I had encouraged them, if we had one last week, to maybe try it and try to work out the bugs. But so we'll work closely with them. That's something from Pinkerton for next year.
Is there any other business, old business, to come before the board at this time? No. Seeing none, the next order of business is a non-public.
Madam Chair? I'll move that the board go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2, part E and part I.
Second?
Thank you. Mrs. Abrazizi?
Yes.
Mr. Cipriano?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Yusenka?
Yes.
Thank you. You too, thank you.